Welcome to Open Tech Talks TV. Let's welcome our guest speaker for today, Martin Lucas, to Open Tech Talks.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for joining us. So if you can give us a short introduction about yourself, how people knows you, what you're doing.
Yeah, sure. So I've invented deterministic AI, invented decision science as well. I've written 5 books. I've spent my entire life, 4 different businesses, exploring and enabling how to understand human decision making, how to turn that into software, and how humans can serve each other better.
All right. So then let's start with some very fundamental questions. So because someone was listening, right, and we are in Gen AI, machine learning. So maybe a word deterministic AI for someone new, right? So if maybe you can start with that one, what it is and why it is important.
Yeah, sure. So what you've got happening at the moment within AI software is the same problem that you've always had in software. It's known as the 30% problem, meaning that every time you put something into a large language model, whether it's an end user as ChatGPT or running AI software, you get an inconsistent response, meaning that 30% of the response that you get is inaccurate. So today, for example, in finance, you couldn't use AI software because if 2 people apply for a loan that are exactly the same, one can get rejected and one can get accepted. That's the AI software issue. So it can't be used in pharma, finance, lots of things like that. And that's what we've done with deterministic AI is created consistency so it can both sit separately to traditional AI software or sit as a layer above it to ensure accuracy. So if you send in 1,000 requests, you get 1,000 responses back that are consistent to the problem that you're trying to solve.
Okay. But is it what? It is based on traditional machine learning model which you use, or how is it technology wise?
Yeah, so we've created our own intelligence layer. So it's the logic of how decision making works and how people think and all the sides around it. So unlike traditional AI that's going to a large language model, that's basically a text selection service, right? So based on
Right.
what you say, you could slightly change your prompt, change your word, you're going to get a different answer. What we've done is to understand the contextual intelligence of what you're trying to understand, what problem you're trying to solve. So rather than it just being about general information over here, it can understand and reason with what you're trying to do. So it's giving you accurate responses, not general responses.
But then maybe we can argue that it's a rule based.
You could argue absolutely it's a rule-based thing. So what you've got going on there, and it's a great insight, right? Deterministic AI gets you the consistency. So that's more of your rule-based. That's going back to like 1990s software, right? When last time deterministic was used, right? So that's a rule-based. You've got that 100% correct. So if you're a bank and you just want the correct people to get the loans and the incorrect people not to, that's your deterministic part, right? Where we've got the difference is what we've built with decision science is all those variables about how the brain thinks, what's irrational, what's rational, what's the emotional context, what's the behavior, what stage is somebody at, and therefore it's got those variables within it. So it's millions of different variables. So you could argue that they're rules. The brain's got rules, right? But it's running through millions of different things to come to that answer. So is it rule-based? Yes, but is it fixed? No, right? So that's your 2 different use cases.
Okay. So now let's transition from, we understood the deterministic AI, the fundamentals and the logic behind and why that it's compared to the others one. Now maybe translate this for an audience that, in what scenario, use cases, or maybe industry, how you are applying it.
Yes. So we've done what I'll give you as an example about the same stat is true in 2025 as when I started in 2015, right? If you combine Facebook, Google Display, and programmatic advertising, 98.81% of ads get ignored. And I don't mean clicked and not purchased or looked at and not clicked. I mean just completely ignored, right? So what you've got going on there is a distinct thing where humans don't understand, right? That's what it comes back to. If we understood each other, I would know how to serve you with things that are more relevant. I'd understand your context, things like that, right? So what I'd like to do is play a little game with you, right? So what I want you and the listeners to do is to imagine a brand that you love, right? A consumer brand that you really, really like. You got one in mind?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of them?
Maybe a symbol.
Okay, cool. But like their logo or?
Yeah, the logo.
Okay, cool. And what do you feel when you see or hear them? Like security, excitement, trust, belonging? Like, what feeling do they generate for you?
Yeah, maybe it's a trust. Like whatever the product is, that okay, it's durability or whatever you name it, it's still
Not the discount, not the latest offer that they give you?
not for this brand.
Yeah, I got you, right? And I'll come back to why I was like a
Uh,
preloaded. I'm always leading the
Yeah,
witness
true,
a
true,
little bit,
true,
right? Because it's a
true.
discount world, and I'll come back to, right? But
Yeah.
do you love everything they sell or just certain things?
No, definitely not everything, right?
Okay, so only
So few
specific
things
things,
which
right?
you like, and then rest is okay, fine. There are other brands, other companies do the same thing.
Right, right. So this is great so far. So hopefully everyone's playing along that's listening to this, right? So now what I
Right.
want you to do is describe a time when they absolutely made a wonderful experience for you. Could have been online, could have been in store, could have just been in communication. Like what made it stand out for you as a person?
See, experience is when if you talk about the in-person stores, right? Then I mean, how you walk in stores, what's the behavior, what was the attitude, how was the layouts, and all those were right. And then from a socials, that okay, how they are how they are pushing ads to the globally, and
Mhm.
not it's like hundreds of ads coming to you that you need to buy. Right. So there are ads, but those are fairly with without going through too much push.
Yeah. So what I'm picking up from you, you were talking about in-store, you're talking about digital ads,
Uh,
is like what I'm getting is an impression that you want to be respected. What I mean by that is
mm.
like serve me when I want, show me things, but not too many things. Don't come after me all the time. Is that kind of fair where you're
Yeah,
going?
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Okay, cool. Right. So we're getting nearly getting to the end of these questions. I appreciate you playing along
Yeah.
with this, right? Hopefully you're having some fun with it. Have they ever done something that made you hesitate, whether it was the tone, a campaign, something that didn't land, something that broke the magic or your connection with them? Like anything come to mind for that?
Yeah, it also happens that some, how they're going to support some causes, like either it's a political, non-political, religious, non-religious. It could be any way that okay, where those brands are heading towards, inclined towards certain specific areas.
Okay, so what you're showing there is that you've got a value set about how you think about brands, right? What do they stand for? What do they
True.
represent? And if that doesn't reflect how you feel, no matter what they've
Yeah.
got to offer, it can push you away. Is that kind of fair?
True.
Yeah,
Fair.
okay. And so if we look at all those things that you've thought about, what matters to you, right? If you look across all of
Mm.
those examples, what's really deciding your loyalty? Is it the product? Is it the price? Is it the feeling? Is it the timing? Is it the way they speak to you? A little bit of
I think it's
everything?
all
Like,
together, right? You can't be. I mean, the percentage can vary, right? But it's all together when you're loyal to certain brands. Sometimes you ignore certain percentage, but eventually you want to see everything.
yeah, I get it. I get it. So we've worked with over 100 brands all around the world. We've
Right.
run 120 million different tests. We performed 76 above the industry, mainly for sales and marketing and repeat sales, things like that, right? Why
Mhm.
do we do so well? Because all of those questions that you answered is about how you feel about a brand, how you want to be
Mm.
served, when you want to be served, how often you want to be
Mm.
served. We're in a
Mhm.
world where 98.81% of ads are being ignored because people are fed up with discounts. They're fed up with
Mhm.
offers. They're fed up with irrelevant products. So what we've
Mhm.
got is the mathematics of how you think and how you feel.
Mhm.
Therefore, we can give you more of what you want when you want it and also step away so that we're not just shoving things at you that you don't matter to you. Because the
Mhm.
world is caught up in like thinking that brand is everything. But it's the
Mhm.
products that sit underneath it. It's the experience. It's the service.
Mhm.
That's what we're
Right.
doing. That's what decision science is. So I appreciate you walking through that. But you see what I mean? That's what we've designed is the mathematics of how different people feel in their relationship to a brand and products, and therefore you know how to serve them better.
Okay. But then definitely must be linked to the human, right? Humanity, right? How people think about it. I mean, although you done a millions of those sequences or variables, but it's always goes back to. So how then you're bridging that gap?
What for the human feeling side of it?
Humans, yeah, human element, yeah.
Yeah, so the funny thing is, like, what we're doing with most of the brands that we work with is
Mm-hmm.
stepping them off of the discount ledge, right? It's not about offering products and advertising and coming at people all the time. You've got to meet people where they're at. So if I
Mm-hmm.
understood what your relationship is towards me, right, I would
Mm-hmm.
understand how to think, how to engage with you, how to be a better person towards you, right? It's a
Mm-hmm.
relationship. That's
Right.
what we're doing with brands, is helping them understand it's not
Mm-hmm.
about discounts. Yes, you need to
Mm-hmm.
sell products. Yes, it's a capitalist world. We get that. But in order to sell
Mm-hmm.
more products, You do that by actually shoving less products at people. That's the irony. That's the human part of it, right? Understand relationships and you understand how to serve people better. So it comes back to that human to human connection, right? We teach brands how to do that.
Okay, so now maybe you're doing this long time, right? And you're working with brands, like global brands. When 2023 comes, 2022, and the generative AI, right, came into the world, and then suddenly everything, all content writing, and now everything goes to the Gen AI. So how is it impacting overall how you guys work?
Yeah. The interesting thing is that you're starting to see more and more pushback, right? So we're in October 2025, right? And people are they're identifying AI content very easily, right? Because it's full of M dashes. It's got needless bold. It uses verbose language and all these different LLMs. So Claude and Jasper and ChatGPT, ultimately they come down to settings that go into a large language model that then make the best guess, right? Nothing to do with you, your emotional intelligence, or how you feel. So does it look right on paper? Absolutely, right? Does it pass the human test? Absolutely not. So there's this idea of what generative AI is, which can be used for amazing creativity. Everybody believes they can do 100 times the amount of content, which is great. But if you do 100 times the amount of irrelevant content, you're still in that zone of 98.81% of your stuff not mattering. You know what I mean? So it's that balance point of like, there was a couple of years where everyone thought they could do so much more, and now they're coming around to the fact that humans are saying, whoa, 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 this makes no sense to me. Just because you're giving me more doesn't mean that I want more from you. It's actually making
Yeah. I mean, nowadays, if you read those content, somehow everybody's heads is saying, "Oh, it looked like something." Yeah, that's true.
right. One of the problems
Okay.
you've got is the large language model doesn't understand context, and we've created contextual intelligence. So if I ask a large language model, write me a headline for a skincare brand, it will give general information about the skincare brand. What our
Right.
system's doing is understand the context. Who are you as a skincare brand? How many people are actually part of your customer base? How well known are you? How should you speak about it? Are you about sustainability? Are you about provenance? Like, what is your influence to the world? Therefore, we will speak like that. It understands the context. That's what's missing in the world.
Okay. So maybe then, is there any biggest like a myth?
I think the word intelligence within it is probably the biggest myth because
Okay.
it's not thinking, right? It's not intelligent. So the original idea of artificial intelligence still applies. I believe that what I've worked on and built is that type of intelligence, right? However, what's going on in the world is very, very different to that because this artificial intelligence has been replaced by LLMs. What is an LLM? It's a really advanced text selection system. And
Right.
I'm sure that you know, but let me explain for others, right? Is like you've got a temperature set in an AI, you've got a hallucination set, and you've got heuristics. And that basically means your temperature setting is how creative it's going to be. Your hallucinations is how much it's going to lie and make up what it doesn't know, which is crazy, right? That's your 30% problem that I spoke about at the start. And your heuristics is when it doesn't understand the words it's saying, but because you've used certain words a lot, it uses those words again, right? That's not intelligence. That's just like soothing humans. It's tricking us. It thinks, right?
True. Yeah. All right. So maybe now, okay. So this massive things are going on now. So how do you see maybe the next 10 years with respect to human creativity, AI, and all that one?
I think the next 10 years will be about alignment. So we've got to look at the machine logic to see if it matches human logic, if it understands intent, if it understands context. If it does, then it can meet the humans in the middle, right? It needs to understand the messiness, which is the human brain, how we think, how we're irrational, all those types of things. Otherwise, we end up, and we might already be there, where people are implementing AI software where you've got this person approved for a loan, this person isn't, right? Which is fine. It makes sense for a loan. But imagine if you're doing that based on, I want better marketing. I want to speak to my customers better. I want to be more creative. Like, because it's based around telling you that you're right more often than not, doesn't disagree with you, it can trick you. So you end up in this echo chamber of thinking that you're getting a better experience. Whereas I think logic, intent, understanding what should always be the case is like, if we can't understand how the human brain works, how are we going to make stuff better? We're just making it faster.
Okay. So now maybe based on your experience as you worked on large brands, someone from our listeners, they are just maybe startups, they're trying to build maybe solopreneurs or very small teams. So if any any recipe you can leave for them, which they can follow for their own, maybe branding or marketing or any.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing it always comes down to is understand the audience you're trying to serve, right? So let me give you a
Mhm,
few psychology models of what that means. One of the
mhm,
things the brain's always looking for is what's the gains and rewards from an
mhm,
experience? What can I gain by engaging with this brand? What's the reward of doing it? And we're not talking about the
mhm,
reward of a discount. That's nice. We're talking about the reward of self, right? So don't copy
mhm,
big brands. Start by asking, what problem do I solve for people? What's the gains they're looking for? What's the rewards? And how do I give them more of that? So the more you
mhm,
can understand the context of that audience, the more you can meet them in the middle saying, we represent this, and they go tick, 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 tick. Yes, I'm going to try you. I'm going to do that. It comes down to what
mhm,
problem do you solve? And then the psychology of that decision making is what's the gains and rewards? Because when you're a startup, if you're not hitting the gains
mhm,
and rewards, what happens is the brain says, that's interesting, but I don't want it. They're too new to me. I don't know them. I'm going to stick with what I already know. So that's
mhm.
the easiest way to start getting conversions for yourself as a startup.
Okay. And it must be the large brands. How's your work going with them over the years? Are they more concerned? Are they more, or they're also being trapped with the.
Think that a lot of them are getting the message from the CEO and other C-level people, we should be
Mhm.
doing more. Let's generate more, right? So they're under lots
Right.
of pressure to generate
Right.
more. So people have spent a lot of money on these huge tech capabilities, but then the
Mhm,
operators, the people in the marketing divisions, don't know how to fully use it, or they're
mhm.
just generating stuff like Deloitte recently did a report that was over 200 pages and it was full of
Yeah.
grammar and factual issues, right? You're like, just because you
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
do stuff quicker, you've still got to fact check what you're putting out. It's crazy for
Yeah.
Deloitte to do that, but that's a great example of what's going on in the world. We can do more. AI is going to solve everything. And you're like, well, as I said earlier, same for startups. What problem are you actually trying to solve? Nobody's saying I
Hmm.
need more content, right? It's the opposite of how
So.
we want to be treated.
Hmm. Okay. So maybe as you're also founder, right? So how do
Mm.
you balance, between systems and then creative, and it is need to be that it should be curiosity for humans. So how you balance all these things together,
Well, I think
being
you
a
said
founder?
the key word, right? Curiosity is the number one intelligence of where creativity lives. The more curious
Mhm,
you are, the more open you are. The more open you are, the better questions you ask. The better questions you ask, the better responses you get back, whether you're dealing with humans or with AI. It's the same thing.
mhm,
Curiosity breeds creativity. Creativity breeds originality. Originality breeds success. It's like, that's
mhm.
it. You said it. Curiosity is the key thing.
All right. And coming back to your own work, which you do work with a lot of brands. So if someone is listening to us and then he's interested to know about your work, what you do, what you provide.
Yeah, so they can find me under LinkedIn under Martin Lucas. I also run for startups free conversion mastermind groups. And the reason that I do that is that I get open feedback and can do testing and it keeps me real. So people can
Mhm,
reach out to me genuinely. That's a free thing that I run. So it's a very win-win. They can help grow their business and I can help understand more. And about 3 weeks ago, I came out of this development cave after 10 and a half years of all these tests and stuff. So I've started writing on Medium about my lessons and what I found and things like that as well. So if people want to read, I try not to overdo the content, right? But I'm on Medium as well under Martin Lucas.
okay. And for maybe as you're doing this selling concept of deterministic AI with the so much hype, how successful you are.
Well, that's TBC because deterministic
Okay.
AI was only signed off after years of testing with clients. But in terms of us putting out to the market, that's what we're going to be doing in December. So we'll see.
Okay.
My
Okay.
my
Okay.
feeling is that a lot of the world believes that AI is already deterministic. So I spent a lot of time
Hmm.
with machine learning engineers, AI engineers. Most people don't know that this 30% problem exists. I think that'll be a
Hmm.
little bit harder, not because it doesn't solve a problem. I mean, OpenAI that owns ChatGPT, we could be saving them 90 million a month in wasted
Hmm.
GPU and data centers, right? So the
Hmm.
solution works, but you've
Hmm.
got to convince people and help them understand and accept that there's a problem, right? And that's a more difficult challenge.
Okay. All right. So, linking questions on that one. You raised very, very basic points, and which is this how the LLMs works,
Mhm.
right? But the challenge which we have with so much hype and so much investment is going into this area, it's becoming very challenging for two areas. even if you think that, okay, this is how they work, but there's a push, as you mentioned also, that C-levels are pushing, oh, we need to do something on Gen AI. Now, if our listeners, maybe they are working for some companies, or maybe they are independent, they're running their own business. So any tip for them while adopting Gen AI, while, easing those pressures that, yes, we need to do Gen AI or AI, any path forward for them that, okay, how they should look something which before doing anything? All right. So, okay, you also mentioned you wrote 5 books. Which one is the most latest one and relevant to the AI, which someone listener want to maybe just want to read it? Yeah. Yeah. And is it available on Amazon or everywhere someone want to reach out to? All right. All right. So maybe before we conclude for today, any concluding remarks you want to pass, or someone want to reach out to you? What's the best medium? All right. Thank you so much. Really appreciate for joining us.